Hello, Dr. Tamara Harville here to talk to you about APA 7th edition. Now, if you already know APA, it has been 6th edition for around a decade or so, but we have a new 7th edition and there have been some changes. So first you want to open up a Word document like I have here. Everything always depends on your instructor. Font preferences, running head preferences, those are all up to your instructor. I'm going to tell you what the book says. Basically, you want a 1-inch margin. Microsoft Office already has that, so perfect. We don't have to worry about it. In the top 1 inch of your paper, if you double click up there, it'll open up a header. Tell it you want a page number at the top of the page, and you want it on the right hand side, and it puts the page number in for you. Now I keep my computer set, I don't know why there's a slash there, to Times New Roman 12. You can use Calibri 11 or any other font that your professor prefers, but Times New Roman 12 is the typical one. Normally we would have a running head or our last name up here, but according to the new APA it's not required. So we're done with that part. Double click under the dotted line to get to the main part of the paper. Here you want to make sure you have the same font, but you want to change it to double spacing. Mine may already be set because I have my defaults up. But under paragraph, see this little tiny arrow right here? We want to click on that, and this will open up a menu. Make sure all of these numbers are set to 0. It may say 8 or 10 on the after, change it to 0. Your line spacing may be set to double, or it may be multiple if you haven't ever changed it. You want it to be double. Mine's already set, so I'm just going to click OK. So in the paper we want to center, these are our options up here, the cover page, and that's what this one's going to cover. I'm going to hit enter about 4 times to get about 1/3 of the way down the page. This is where my title is going to be. Your title is going to be bolded. So go up here and click the B for bold, or you can do Control B and it will bold it. And titles in APA are usually pretty long and sometimes have 2 parts. So I'm going to call this, my example here is Nurturing, that looks weird, the Nurses. Yes, I can spell. There is a G there. And then there's a colon, and Reducing Compassion, Fatigue through Resilience Training. Okay, there's your title. I'm going to enter twice and then remove the bold. This is where your name comes in, so it's going to be your first and last name. Oh look, I'm still on bold. Let's take that and say no, I don't want bold. Okay, so your first and last name, your affiliation, so it's Tulsa Community College, or if you're using another college. Enter once more. This is your class. So I'm going to say this one is NURS 101, and I keep looking or downward because I'm looking at an example. The nature of nursing practice. That's a big colon. And you hit enter once, and this is where your instructor goes. So I'm going to say Doctor first and last because we don't want to put names in. And then your date, the date that it's due. So the due date, I'm going to say, I'm just going to put in a random date even though this may be past, but I'm going to say June 1st, 2020. This is what a cover page should look like. Page number at the top, your bolded title, then skip an extra line and type in your name, college, class name, instructor, and the due date. And that is a cover page. Now from here, I'm going to do Control Enter to get us to the next page. And make sure you take it off of that center and to the left again. Now depending on the type of paper you write in APA, this could change. Sometimes the next page is an introduction page and you just write an introduction. Sometimes you need an abstract. Sometimes you just start off your paper. It just really depends on what it is required. So I'm going to say that this one's going to need an abstract. So I'm going to write an abstract up here. And then I'll take it back to the left. An abstract is basically, if you were searching through the library and you were curious, you could click on abstract and it would tell you what the purpose of it is, what methods were done, any types of results that they had, all in one little nutshell. So that way somebody doesn't have to read all your paper to understand exactly what it was about to decide if they want to use it or not. So that's how your abstract would be. What methods did you use? What kind of, experiment or paper are you writing? What are your conclusions? All of this in a nutshell is the abstract. If you use titles that, such as abstract, or you could have section titles, you could have like your purpose, you could have your hypothesis, depends on the paper you're writing. You could have different sections, and all the section headers need to be in the center and bold. Now if you have subheaders, an abstract's not going to have subheaders, but say you have your methodology as a section. It would be centered. You would take your paper back to the left. Sometimes you have subheaders like participants. Go ahead and keep it bolded. And that's the subheader. And then you would remove the bold and start writing, perhaps about participants. Maybe you did a questionnaire or something like that. Maybe you have in part of your methodology the procedure, actually materials and procedure. Let's put those together. So anything that has to do with methodology that needs a subsection those subsection titles are bolded, but they're to the left. Now, if you were then going to talk about maybe the results, that's its own section. So it gets centered again. So you have your main section headers and then your subsection headers if they are part of that main one. And this is a basic setup for any APA paper. Now, whatever sources you use within your paper, you're going to have to create a references page, but we're not going to talk about the references page here, except that it's its own page. I'm going to hit Control-Enter. Has the word references, or if there's just one, reference, at the top, bolded, and it's going to have the references listed. And there's going to be another tutorial about references specifically, so I'm not going to get into detail. So for a basic APA paper, your cover page has a page number, a bolded title, all double space, extra double spacing here, name, affiliation, class, instructor, date. Notice the page number changes for you, so if you put in that number 1 yourself, it's going to be number 1 every page. Make the computer do it. And then your bolded sections, and this is basic APA. I hope this really helps. Thanks.